Thank you, Jennifer. In the last, I guess about 8-9 months now, we've gotten to know Jennifer West and the 912 Project, people from Hattiesburg and the Gulf Coast, and people in various Tea Party organizations across the state. And there is just this wonderful camaraderie of purpose, of vision, of even fear and hope that seems to unite us all. And so, Jennifer, thank you very much for inviting me to be here. I'm going to try to respect the time here. You get on these subjects and you can go forever, so I actually got me a stopwatch to try to control the situation just a little bit. We're here tonight because there is this ancient and long-running battle, a war between good and evil. This is essentially a war that is taking place between God and Satan. However, tonight, what we want to do is I want to focus that down in preparation for Sheriff Matt coming and sharing the warning and the hope and the call to action that he has. I want to narrow that focus down on this battle a little bit to one specific battlefield. The battle I want to discuss with you is between those who believe in the right of an all-powerful ruling elite and those who believe in the inherent rights of man. The manifestation of the ruling elite has taken many forms over the thousands of years. They have called themselves at various times such titles as kings, emperors, tribal chief, religious potentates, witch doctors, Caesars, dictators, czars, industrial captains, presidents, or whatever name they come up with. The title may vary, but these elite always have one thing in common. They share a belief that they have a right to unlimited power over the lives of people. They believe that they are superior to us. And they believe that this superiority gives them some manifest right, some divine right to rule and to control. Today, this concept is more commonly defined in the academia and the elites as absolutism or statism, or as it's more properly called today in our current political battle, socialism. These people have used politics, they used philosophy, religion, force of arms, whatever they could to obtain and to keep power. I've called them all elites because they possess that common idea, that common belief that they are superior and able to control you and me. And though they've often cloaked their ambitions with slogans about the welfare of the masses and people that are downtrodden and abused and oppressed, their real designs have never been about helping the oppressed or the downtrodden. It has always been about gratifying their hunger for power. Behind all of these fancy, heart-rending, humanistic ideas of a collective government and power is always the real truth that is only about power for themselves. This universal expression of this core belief is called tyranny. And the people who exercise these beliefs are rightly called tyrants. On the opposite side of this battlefield, there's another group of people, and they believe that they are not just some form of cattle, and they have risen up through the ages to challenge the elite's authority. The elite's aggressiveness and sense of self-worth and importance have always led them to simply invade and take over and hijack and just assume power and all these forms of most wars and political contentions, this whole thing that goes on. And throughout history, though, men have groaned under the pain and the burden and the hardships of these oppressions and these abuses that were imposed upon them by these ruling elites, by tyrants. Somehow, these downtrodden people, they just weren't willing to buy into their program. They saw things a little differently. They had a belief that was deep down inside of them that they had some right to make decisions for their own and to rule their own affairs and direct their own lives. They believed that they had some form of rights, but they weren't really sure what the source was. And they weren't really sure how to define those rights and to defend them intellectually, or philosophically, or religiously. So it was a great struggle for them. They wanted to disprove these absolute rights of the monarchs or the elites of their day, but it was a challenge. It was not clear to them why they had some kind of rights. So let's ask ourselves, what is unique about this battle over freedom and rights that's taking place right now in the United States of America? The idea or the concept of freedom is one that's been developing for millennia. The history of freedom stretches back a long ways, but so does tyranny. Politicians have tried to define the terms to their own advantage, and they've used philosophers who have debated the meaning. They have used oppressors who tried to ignore the issues of someone else's rights, and they would engage either various charlatans of different kinds or somebody that would just confuse the issue or muddle and distort the mind of the people they were oppressing. But try as they might, they could never eradicate this thing inside of people, a sense of right, a sense of dignity, a sense that they had a right over their own lives. Now let us be clear, the battle today and the concept of freedom is different than it has been in the past. It is something that has grown in understanding and depth. And it's not something that is held, our concept of freedom is not held all around the world. I downloaded a picture just recently of some Muslims demonstrating in London. And they had various kinds of signs that a Christian would never be allowed to have anything like it, like behead anybody who insults Islam and things like that. And one of the signs I found interesting, this guy had a sign that said, "Freedom, go to hell." They had been brainwashed by the elites of that system and in that part of the world that submission to an absolute power was the highest form of duty and privilege. So when we try to talk to them about freedom, it's not allowed to show on the surface. But I will guarantee you, deep down in the heart, there's something stirring, and that has been exhibited over in Iran, where they are still rising up in protest against that fraudulent election that they just had. Ahmadinejad may have claimed the title of president, but there are a lot of people over there that are not sitting around happy about it. But don't mistake what they're writing for and their concept of freedom with what we're talking about here tonight.